time for the Michael Huddleston Show on HUDdradio.com.
I appreciate your input. 832-699-0110 is the number that you need to call. You can join us on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/mhudradio. Not to take away from some other news that broke the other day, but Eric Holder was held in contempt of Congress for not turning over documents related to the Fast and Furious scandal. We will get more into that in a later show, so stay tuned for coverage on that one. But right now we have a interview that was conducted between myself and Mark Shelton. He is the Texas House of Representatives District 97 representative, and we talked a little bit about the Affordable Health Care Act and what it means to local people in his district and Texans as a whole, and what the legislature is going to do about it. So we'll play that audio for you here in just a little bit. Again, leave your comments and your concerns on our Facebook page or call us at 832-699-0110, and we'll play those on the air now. Before we play this audio, I want to reiterate the fact that we are not a very rich radio show, so we're still playing with technology a little bit, so please excuse the audio quality of this pre-recorded conversation. So look past that and just get what you can out of the content of it, because that's really what's important. So we'll play that audio for you right now. We have the pleasure joining us on the phone right now. It's going to be Representative Mark Shelton. He is over District 97, which covers part of Tarrant County. He is on the Appropriations Committee, the Public Education Committee, and the Appropriations Subcommittee for Articles 1, 4, and 5. Mr. Shelton, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great today, Michael. Thank you.
No problem. Let's just jump right into this. First off, we'll start with your initial thoughts on the Supreme Court's 5-4 ruling to uphold the Affordable Health Care Act and its decision on the individual mandate being constitutional under the tax clause and not under the Commerce Clause.
Well, I was disappointed with the Supreme Court's decision, although it is interesting that they called it a tax and not a mandate. And I actually think that's what it is. I don't believe that that was the right thing, and even though that may be constitutional, that does not mean it's the right thing for the people of this country.
So, I mean, a lot of your constituents that have been on the news stations, on the radio, do support the fact that there needed to be health care reform in this country. What are your opinions on that?
Well, I'm a big proponent of health care reform, and I have filed multiple bills in the Texas legislature to do just that, to change the way we do Medicaid, to have some insurance reform. But the Affordable Care Act was very overreaching. It's a one-size-fits-all. It's trying to put every square peg into a round hole. And it really was creating a huge health care bureaucracy at the federal level, when I think these things can better be taken care of at the state level, where we encourage people and create a climate where individuals can have private health insurance and then have Medicaid for those who truly need it and cannot afford it for themselves.
To change the issue, do you think there needs to be a massive overhaul in Medicaid first, or does going the route of changing health care first, which is the right direction to go?
I actually think we need to do both. I think we need some private insurance reform, and I don't think anyone would differ than that. One of the major problems with federal health care, both the Medicare program and the Medicaid program, is that they have rigid price controls and unfunded mandates, and this has caused cost shifting, and this is one of the major reasons why private health insurance is so expensive, is that Medicaid and Medicare are at less than market rates. And that is also the reason we have so many people in the emergency rooms in Texas, because physicians cannot afford to take Medicaid patients. One of the bills I have filed in the last two sessions is to try to have physicians paid more of a market rate in the Medicaid system, and this was really for the primary care doctors, so we can keep people out of the emergency rooms that would not go there if they had another choice.
How important was it that the court uphold the state's case regarding the Medicare funds and the fact that the federal government can't withhold money as basically as a blackmail to the states?
One of my major concerns with Obamacare was this very clause. And the Commissioner of Health of Texas was predicting that this would cost us $27 billion over the next few years. You know, we currently spend about $55 billion on Medicaid, so this half again is much more if that had stayed in there. And what would have happened is we would have had to shift money from education into Medicaid and or raise all sorts of taxes to meet that demand. I think the most important thing we can do to improve our health care situation is to improve the economy. And I think under the current regimen in Washington, with the high taxes, the Bush tax cuts, I can't even talk today, the Bush tax cuts expiring, the new tax on health care, the fact that many corporations are going to pay the penalties under Obamacare rather than provide insurance is just going to make this whole situation worse.
So where does the legislature go the next session? I mean, do they try to find ways to get around this, or do we just kind of simply comply with it and hope things work out with the November elections?
Well, the legislature did attempt to go around this with a bill in the special session, and we applied for multiple waivers, and we tried to get around it. But still, it's there, and after today, we know it's going to be there. I think the best thing that we can do is to get a new president and a new Congress, because I do not think the Affordable Care Act, so-called Affordable Care Act, is going to be viable long term. It's going to collapse under its own weight, and we need it repealed. And the way to do that is to change the people in Washington that are pushing it forward.
We're on with Representative Mark Shelton from District 96. Mr. Shelton, now, how does this affect Texans at a local level, the local hospitals such as JPS and Harris?
Well, one of the things I've been concerned about with Obamacare is the way it treated children's hospitals. And over the next few years, in fact, like 4 or 5 years, the amount of extra support that the children's hospitals are going to get is going to go away. And at the same time, because so many more people will be on the Medicaid program, we're going to see people coming off private insurance and into CHIP and Medicaid, and it's going to adversely affect the children's hospitals. Some of the bigger hospital chains may do okay, but it remains to be seen how that will work out, particularly since one of the components of Obamacare is to decrease the amount of money in the Medicare system. And I think it's going to be harder for seniors to find physicians to take care of them.
Mr. Shelton, one more question before we go on, a question that was actually asked or brought up to me with somebody in your district, and that was the fact that her complaint was, it seems like the Texas legislature has a lot of talk, but when it comes down to the sessions and the special sessions, they just waste a lot of time with big issues. What is your response to that when it comes to this issue that we're talking about today?
Well, we spent a lot of time talking about health care. Health care was going through multiple committees. There was several day-long debates about health care on the floor of the Texas House. Although I agree with her, there is time wasted in the legislature in Austin. And it's the nature of the process. It's a very slow process. Democracy is a very slow process.
Well, Mr. Shelton, that's all the time we got for today. I appreciate it 100 times for coming on and talking with us. If you ever need anything, let us know.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
And that's our pre-recorded conversation with Representative Mark Shelton from District 97. He is also a doctor. That is his day job at one of the hospitals in Fort Worth, and it was very interesting having a conversation with him pre-recording because he went to the same high school that I did in Arlington, Texas. So that was a really cool